Said Frankenstein.
Yeah, let's be fair, because I was thinking Sinners and Frankenstein being the two monster movies of this year. And, you know, Frankenstein it was
Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo del Toro. I
Yeah,
always get like tongue tied with his name. Guillermo del Toro. It is gorgeous. This
it
movie
is.
is
It is.
amazing.
He is
Like,
to me, he is the Tim Burton of that genre. So Tim
yes, I
Burton
agree.
capitalized on like the weird and death themed stop motion. This guy has cornered the market on monsters. Like that's
Yes.
literally his
He
forte,
just
and he
does
is
so good.
absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I haven't
So
seen a
good.
Guillermo del Toro movie that I don't like, and this
Me
is
neither.
yeah. No, and this one, like, I was familiar with the Frankenstein story, right? So I was going into it with some preconceived notions about what the plot was going to be, and sure enough, it followed the original story pretty much. But I don't know, just the fact that they gave a lot more perspective from the monster's point of view, I think,
Hmm.
gave it such life that I don't know, like I sympathize with Frankenstein. Like I was
Right.
like, yeah, man, like you were forcefully brought onto this planet against your
Well,
will.
the monster,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's
Oh,
something
yeah,
we have.
sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I did the same thing the whole time. I was like, no,
Yes.
the monster, because
The
Frankenstein's the
monster,
doctor,
yes.
Frankenstein, the monster. I had to keep doing it because I was like, but the movie is called Frankenstein. I'm so
Frankenstein, yeah.
confused. But
Yes,
yeah,
no,
you
the
have to
monster.
sympathize with him a little bit.
Yeah, and just the revenge story, like the fact that now he's angry. Like I would be angry. Like why did you do this? And now I'm almost invincible. Like I can't die even if I want to.
Died.
That struggle to me the hit such a chord because it's like you don't necessarily think about it that way. Like even if you wanted to leave, like this is miserable. I'm in a lot of pain and this is not a good existence for me. I should be able to have that choice, but because he didn't have that choice, I think that's where the anger came from. And I don't know, man, it was just such a good contrast between Dr. Frankenstein and the monster and they were intertwined, like their stories are literally bound together. And yeah, I don't know. I loved it. I
Yeah.
absolutely loved it.
I mean, the story of Frankenstein has always been so incredible because of like the nuance and the connection to the reality. And like, it's just, there's so much theme and there's so much like metaphor and the whole story in and of itself it it is a story that should be told a million times, and it also should be told in multiple different ways because it is, it is this idea of creation, death, God, life, eternity. Like there's so much to it. And so I think that the movie captured it all. And it had a great framework to do so. So it was able to capture every single theme that it needed to for Frankenstein's story. And I think that the actors did an incredible job. Jacob Elordi did an incredible job. I completely forgot he was this like stupid, tall, girls love him person. I hate
Yeah.
actors like this who are just like, they're famous because they have teenage girls falling all over them. Jacob Elordi surpassed that. And obviously he was in full head to toe makeup, but like, he being able to do what he did in the incredible way that he was able to show his ability as an actor specifically. And I think it was even more importantly that he was covered in makeup. There was no way to utilize his, what is considered, conventionally attractive face in order to show that like, oh, look at this conventionally attractive actor just being decent. No, he was a good actor, great actor even, behind makeup showing his talent because he couldn't rely on his face. And I think that in and of itself was transcendent in the performances. I think my biggest takeaway though from this movie is that if it doesn't fucking win costume design, I will throw the
Oh
TV across
no,
the room.
for sure.
The first thing within the first 20 minutes of the movie, the first thing I noticed is like these costumes are fucking incredible. They were gorgeous. Everything on screen was gorgeous. Every color was gorgeous. The cinematography was gorgeous. I was like, this movie is beautiful. And like,
Yes.
I was like, I was beyond. I mean, and there were so many moments when like the framing of it all was just it was just so metaphorical. I mean, I forget her name because I'm terrible with names, but the love interest of both Frankenstein and the monster, she's like framed with this skull and the metaphor of what that is, and like the way that it's set up, and like everything was intentional as well. Like these are the kinds of movies that get nominated. It was intentional, and my God, I was just like, I was in awe because I was like, this movie is good. This is a good movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You ever leave a theater and you're like, that was a good movie. I was like,
Yeah.
and that was how I left Marty Supreme, actually. When we left the theater, I was like, there's just no way to describe this other than telling people it's a good movie. It's just a good movie. Like, I don't know I don't know what else to say. You're like, I could tell you a million reasons why, but I'm also like, go watch it. It's just a good movie. You leave that movie, you leave Frankenstein with this feeling of like, wow, I watched something good. I think it was, I never read Frankenstein the book, so I'm not really totally familiar with the story. I mean, I'm obviously familiar with what I've been told, but I don't know how the book and the movie differ as far as like the actual storytelling. But from what I've been told, there are some subtle differences, but I think the theme still landed. I think everything still landed really well. And at the end, Frankenstein or the monster decides not to be a monster. He decides he's not going to be like his father. He's not going to be like his creator. He's going to spare his creator's life. Well, he's not going to be the one to take away his creator's life, and he's going to help the people stuck in the ice, and that'll be his redeeming quality. Is that when you've been put on this earth against your will, you have two choices. You can be the monster, or you can be, how do I put this? You can be Frankenstein or you can be the monster. And the monster decided that he was going to be good. He was going to be like, he wasn't
It's a choice.
Yeah, he wasn't born with morality. He was born out of pieces of flesh put onto this earth with a brain that would hopefully be able to make his own choices. And the monster never decided to be a murderer. He never decided to be a bad person. He always decided to respect and protect and provide. And no matter what happened, what he wanted more than anything was to be loved and to be embraced in society. And when that couldn't happen for him, of course he blamed his creator, because that's what we do, right? We as humans will throw our fists up to God and be like, why isn't my life the way that it could be? Because you made me this way.
But it comes down to choice. Yeah, it comes down to choice and personal experience. I love the journey that he goes through, because he goes from being loved unconditionally by this love interest to then being not necessarily pitied, but taken care of by this old blind person that can't see what he looks like. So he's literally showing him empathy. So you go from love to empathy to that journey to me was so wild, because you can see all the little pieces coming together, and he's starting to put the puzzle pieces together, because he's technically only, a few days old, in the beginning. So he's not born with any of this, and what comes out is just anger and resentment and all that stuff. But then throughout the journey, through all the people he comes into contact with, he learns a little piece of what it is to be human, what it is to be alive. And I loved it, man. I really loved it. And I hope that Guillermo del Toro keeps getting funding for all of his projects, because they are fucking brilliant.
There's a rumor that he's going to take on Phantom of the Opera next. Probably not obviously not the musical, but that would be really cool to see.
That'd be great.
Like a modern version of Phantom of the Opera. Yeah. I think and the final thoughts for me for Frankenstein is that, like, I think it's incredible that the movie really speaks on this idea of theists versus atheists, because we always talk about like how we're born with a moral compass, and that like it is our choices that make our morality, but it's truly God who's given us that morality. But the reality is that, like, when the truth comes down to it, you're put on this earth and you have choices to make. And if a monster created by multiple pieces and a brain that never belonged to him can still choose kindness, why can't we? And I think it's just such an incredible story. Dude, I can't speak enough about the set design, about the intentional cinematography. Like, that movie is just so well done. Again, this is one of those movies where I'm like, if it won, I would not be upset.
Yeah, and not only Best Picture, but also, like you said, the costume design, makeup, like special effects, like all of these different categories that just came together so beautifully. Like, this movie is gorgeous. If you haven't seen it, I highly, highly recommend it.
I forgot about the film language. There was this consistent red gloves that all of the like the blood in their hands kind of thing,
Hmm.
and like Frankenstein had these red gloves, and I was just like, fucking brilliant. And like nobody
It's
would point
great.
that out, but
Hmm.
because subconsciously you're seeing it, there's this sort of like brilliance to bringing the story together that has all these little minor film languages that actually make the movie even greater. And I love movies like this. That's why I went to film school for shit like this. That's what I like.
Yeah.